I can't believe I'm making this video, honestly. And you would have seen on the thumbnail, you would have seen on the screen right now. It's at the time of me recording this, I've literally just reacted to it in real time. The news has come out 6 minutes ago from Triple H on social media. And as you can see on the screen, as you can see on the thumbnail, the news has come through that Bray Wyatt, former WWE Champion, WWE Universal Champion, current WWE Superstar, has sadly passed away at the age of just 36 years old. Now, as I mentioned, the news was broken just a few minutes ago by WWE's Chief Content Officer, Triple H. He's posted on social media, on X. You can see it on the screen right there. It says, just received a call from WWE Hall of Famer Mike Rotunda, who informed us of the tragic news that our WWE family member for life, Windham Rotunda, also known as Bray Wyatt, unexpectedly passed earlier today. Our thoughts are with his family, and we ask that everyone respect their privacy at this time. Now, obviously, right now, details are incredibly scarce and sparse. We hadn't really had a Bray Wyatt update for several weeks. The last one that we had heard was actually a positive one. The last we had heard about Windham Rotunda, who hadn't been on WWE television since just before WrestleMania, was that he had been dealing with an illness, and he was getting closer and closer and closer to being cleared to make an in-ring return from that illness, which again makes it even more shocking, stunning, devastating, heartbreaking. We were informed at the time by, I believe it was Sean Ross Sapp from Fightful, that this illness was life-threatening and it was career-threatening as well, obviously, but he had making really strong steps and he had recovered from it. And as I mentioned, they said that he was close to an in-ring return. I'm sat here absolutely stunned and lost for words. And I just think about his family. I know that Windham Rotunda has young children. I know that he has a fiance. He was due to get married. There were active plans for him to get married. As I mentioned, I know that he has several children. He had 2 daughters from his first marriage. Obviously, as I mentioned, they had a son with JoJo, former ring announcer for WWE, a daughter as well. They became engaged last year, were due to be married, I think, next year, something like that. And I'm floored. I'm absolutely stunned, and I'm absolutely lost for words. I'm shocked. As I mentioned, we haven't seen Bray Wyatt since just before WrestleMania. The last time we saw him was just before WrestleMania. He had come back in October last year, the White Rabbit. We had done so much. People had speculated so much, and it was so good. The White Rabbit tease and his return, and the Jefferson Airplane, and singing that song, and all that kind of stuff. And his return at Extreme Rules last year was incredible. And it really felt like a moment, a cathartic moment of a guy that was released in 2021 with a black cloud over his head and wonders about what would be next for him. And he came back and the fans loved it. And obviously then there was criticism about, the Uncle Howdy and the stuff with LA Knight and all that kind of stuff. And then with him disappearing off television, you just assume he'd come back. You just thought he would return. And again, particularly when reports came out just a few weeks ago that he was nearing an in-ring return. So to hear this news today, I just can't stop thinking about his family. I can't stop thinking about his family. I can't stop thinking about his children. Between the character and between the enigma that was Windham Rotunda, you could always tell he loved his family. He loved his family and he loved his friends. And it sends shivers down my spine thinking about that. And it reminds me of the same feelings that I had when the news came through that Brody Lee, John Huber, had passed away in 2020. And the shock that was. And again, similarly, a guy that had been off TV for a little while, but no one had heard that much about it. And the assumption was he was coming back. And even Bray Wyatt at the time spoke about their connection, obviously being the Wyatt family, the faction, but also the friends that they were. and how much they love their kids and how much they love their family. And I just don't know what to say. I don't even think it's the appropriate time to do a career retrospective of him as well. But for me, I always had a soft spot for Bray Wyatt. I did. As much as people can talk about the character and the Fiend and the promos and all that kind of stuff, I just thought it was so unique and so different. And I thought it was something that, particularly when it came to the Fiend, was so mishandled and it was so special. And that's what Bray Wyatt was. That's what Windham Rotunda was. As a man, as a father, as a husband, special. As a pro wrestler, special. Different. Because Bray Wyatt didn't look like, your modern day pro wrestlers of great body, great physique, but he had a great mind, and he could talk, and he could entrance you, and he could take you off into a different direction outside of the norm of pro wrestling. And people could say it was hokey, people could say it was whatever, but he was different. He was different at a time and in a generation where so much is cookie cutter, and a real, yes, he was third generation and comes from a pro wrestling dynasty and a pro wrestling family, and he carried that weight, he carried that burden, and he didn't even use the Rotunda name. He was Bray Wyatt. He was the leader of this villainous cult in the Wyatt family, which again was so different, so groundbreaking back in 2012, 2013 when he was developing that character. After being on the main roster as Husky Harris and it not going well, NXT Season 2, and then being in the New Nexus, and then being kicked by Randy Orton, and going away and coming back as something completely different, helping launch the WWE careers of Luke Harper, of Eric Rowan, of Braun Strowman as well, with Bray Wyatt at the focal point of that. And once again, bad booking, and WWE not knowing what they had messed that all up. And what did he do again? He went away. He went away and he came back with something different, something unique, because that's what Bray Wyatt was. He was unique. He was different. And he came back with, in my opinion, one of the best gimmicks of the last decade. And I know people will criticize that and say, no, it's not. The Fiend was different. The way that the Fiend looked with the Fiend's mask and the Fiend's eyes and the character work and the Firefly Funhouse was so unique and so different. And even then, when he went away, he was released, and he came back with the White Rabbit, as I mentioned last year. People will kind of forget about that because of how it ended, but with the QR codes and the stuff in the background, and during commercial, just a social media swirl of frenzy of the lights going red and the White Rabbit song playing and people putting two and two together and the Easter eggs and the coordinates and looking on Google Maps and putting in telephone numbers, all from the brain of a genius in Bray Wyatt. And now we're talking about someone that's no longer with us. And I don't know if I can talk about Bray Wyatt, Windham Rotunda, the person, in the past sense. To me, that's unfathomable. I get this is a guy he's only 36 years of age. Absolutely flawed. I'm absolutely stunned. Obviously, if there's any more information that we can gather, which I doubt that will be the case for a while, certainly, we'll let you know as it comes in. Obviously, there's going to be a huge outpouring of support. There's going to be a huge outpouring of prayers and condolences, and that's where it goes to his family, to his friends, to his fans. I'm still here struggling to comprehend it, even as I'm recording this. I'm absolutely floored, and I can just reiterate what I'm sure everyone else will in the comment section, which is thoughts, prayers, condolences to his family, to his friends, to his fans, to his kids, his young children, his fiancée, and he will be more than missed. He will be never forgotten. He will be immortal for what he has created, the characters, the memories, the moments. Bray Wyatt will never be forgotten. Ever, ever, ever. And I think as time goes on, we won't realize what we had. And it's horrible, because sometimes you don't know what you've got until they're no longer there, or you don't have it anymore. But Bray Wyatt, Windham Rotunda, rest in peace. You'll be forever missed.